back to NH Unscripted, where today's tip is, don't sleep in the subways, darling. Don't stand in the pouring rain. I have questions about that lyric, but that's for a show for another day. I am your Petula Clock-like host, Ray Dudley. We are coming to you from the Hollywood Square-like digs of the WKXL studios in Concord, where I love to sit in the center square. Ah, yes. You know the drill. Fire up those lava lamps, kick back on those water beds, break out the transistor radios, because we have another beautiful, beautiful show for you today. We are coming to you. You can flip over on your transistor radio to the AM dial 1450, and then try us on the FM side, 103.9 FM. Those are Concord-based, 101.9 FM for the beautiful, beautiful souls in Manchester. We love you folks down there. NHTalkRadio.com is our URL because, yeah, that's where the cool kids hang out. We got cool kids in here today, too. We're going to be chatting so much today. But before we get into it, I need to thank my sponsor. New year, new sponsor. Shaheen Gordon, the law offices of Shaheen Gordon in Concord. They're our new sponsor. I am so happy and proud that they have come on board. We're going to be getting them in throughout the year. Talk about all the different specialties they go through. Let me give you a life tip. You live long enough, eventually you may find, and the odds are pretty good, that you're going to need an attorney for something. Either you got to set up a will, a trust, you have questions about real estate, maybe even you might have come up with a DUI. I know a few friends who have done that. Hey, we all make mistakes. It's a judgment-free zone here, but you know what? You might need an attorney. Maybe you just got a question about something, right? ShaheenGordon.com is their URL, ShaheenGordon.com. Their phone number is 603-614-5560. And again, we will be getting them in to talk about all the different specialties there throughout the year. We are so happy. I mean that. We are proud to have them on board. Anyhow, in the studio with me today, a return visit for one of them, Leslie Pasternack, good morning.
Good morning.
And a new face, Katie Gall.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you.
We have much to talk about, don't we?
Yeah.
The answer is yes.
Yeah.
The answer
Yes, we
is
do.
yes. Before we get into the show that you're both in, when I need an expert on how dogs and clowns are similar, Leslie comes in.
Yeah.
So, but we don't know much about Katie. So, Katie, why don't you give us a little bit of your background before we go too far?
Yeah. So I am Katie Gall. I have.
Oh, Gall, I'm
yes,
sorry.
That's okay. We're
that
good.
Old man mistake.
Fair. I am a singer and a voice teacher in New Hampshire. I have been performing since, age 16 professionally, I'd say. Prior to that as well. Yeah, that's me.
What? That's it? Okay.
I don't know. Yeah.
We know that's not it. So
Katie, this is the time and this is the place to get your deets out.
Thank you, Leslie.
Fair.
Because
Correct.
everywhere I go, someone said to me the other day, an actor who will go unnamed, I'm looking for voice work, and everywhere I turn, people say, you need Katie Gall.
Everywhere?
Yeah.
Oh.
That's the
I'll
grocery
take
store,
that.
you
Cool.
know, Costco. They're all one. So tell us about your background there. Tell us about what you
Yeah.
offer, your website.
Absolutely. So yeah, I teach voice lessons as well as speech lessons for the LGBTQIA plus community, specifically those who are transitioning. I do a lot of work within musical theater. My background is both classical and in musical theater, so I can kind of run the gamut there. I'm also the resident artist in voice at UNH at the moment.
You are.
I am.
And how's that working out?
That's great.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm loving that.
So what does that entail?
Currently it entails teaching the International Phonetic Alphabet to a bunch of classical and education students, which is basically how you properly pronounce things within singing, specifically for us. And then I'm also teaching private lessons to the musical theater students there, to some of the musical theater students there, not all of them.
Now, okay, so you both do counseling, you both have a no, I don't mean counseling. I mean like you offer lessons to people, right? Voice and yeah. So, what would you say is your? I know we're going to get there's things we will get into. I promise you. But these things fascinate me. What is your approach? Let's start with Leslie. What is your approach? Somebody called you up and they say, I need some help. I need some guidance. What is your approach to help them out?
Well, my approach right now, I own Lemon Punch Theater Lab Studio, and I provide acting and a lot of writing consultation, coaching, and group classes for theater artists, some of whom are trying to go professional, and a lot of whom are recreational students, shall we say. So the first thing I do is try and figure out what the background is and hone in on, I'm sure this is very similar, Katie, what your goals are. And then really try and figure out what kind of learner they are and tailor that. And would you like to be in a group class? I'm forming one soon, et cetera, or would you like to do one-on-one coaching? And a lot of times what I'm getting is people who are saying, I've been involved in the regional theater for years, but I feel like I don't know how to level up. I'm not getting the response that I need from auditions that I would like. And so working and figuring out how they can respond. Basically, everything I do comes down to how can we make your performance more active in the moment. Every bit of language or vocabulary that I use is coming down to how can we make you more active. And this comes in with the playwriters as well. So I'm sure, Katie, you have something similar, like, core skills, core competencies that you want to communicate to folks and then build out from there based on what their particular goals are.
Is there a common thread when people come to you and they say, I need some help, I need some guidance? Are you finding that those people who are asking that question, there's something common amongst them that they're missing? Or is it just really as diverse as the number of people who ask the question?
I'll take this one. So I'll let Leslie speak more on the acting side of things, but on the voice side of things, what I have found is that 99% of people have no idea how their voice works, what it can do, and just like what the basic building blocks are of the voice, and they tend to think that it's what I call this magical talent machine in their throat that's just this mystery, and nobody knows what it does. And so a lot of what I end up doing is just basic education around how the voice functions, where it should sit, what you should and should not be doing with it. And from there, once we kind of have those basics down, we can build on what you want to be able to do with it. But there has to be a baseline understanding of the fact that it's not just talent.
Okay.
It's work.
I just realized that I am way over my head here. This is fascinating to me. You made a statement that you said most people don't realize how their voice works. Mm-hmm. What does that even mean? Because we all think we hear our own voice every day, and I know it's awkward when we hear it back, it's replayed, but what does that actually mean? If you say that to someone, do they like go, what?
If I say people don't know how their voice actually works?
Yeah.
So usually what I'll end up doing is asking them some version of, okay, so when you go to speak or sing, what happens? And they just look at me. like
me right now. Yeah.
Deer in the headlights, right? Yeah. Exactly. Like they have no idea. They're like, oh, I think to say something and then I do. But there's an entire system underneath that, right? There is air that has to come up through the trachea. It has to meet the vocal folds. The brain has to have made a connection that we want to make a sound. Therefore, I need to ask the vocal folds to actually come together. After the vocal folds, there's an entire filter system that actually is the thing that makes me sound like me and you sound like you. And that's all before we get to any of the buzzwords that a lot of us already know. Like you might have heard of projection, resonance, things like that. These words that we don't have an understanding of actually. We know that we need them, but we don't have an understanding of because we don't know how this actually functions.
That's crazy. That's crazy. So do you physically walk people through like the breathing technique and the vocal? You do?
Yeah, absolutely. And a student doesn't necessarily need to keep like their vocal folds in mind 100% of the time, especially if they're performing. You don't want them to have to think of their technique fully in that moment, right? But you want to train so that you get to the point that you don't have to be worrying about it so much.
Man. One block down.
Yep.
That's incredible. Can't be. You are listening to NH Unscripted. Yeah, baby, it's a wild, wild world. I am your Cat Stevens-like host, Ray Dudley. We are coming to you from the YMCA-like conditions of the WKXL studios in Concord. I can smell the chlorine from here. Anyhow, 1450 AM, 103.9 FM in Concord, 101.9 FM for the gorgeous souls in Manchester. NHTalkRadio.com is our URL. Oh, we're just getting started. We'll be right back. Welcome back to NH Unscripted. Crackling Rosie, get on board. I am your Neil Diamond-like host, Ray Dudley. We are coming to you from the Taj Mahal-like digs of the WKXL studios. My God, it is cavernous in here. You are listening to us, hopefully. Maybe you're on the live stream, nhtalkradio.com or 1450 AM, 103.9 FM in Concord, 101.9 FM for the beautiful souls in Manchester. Leslie Pasternack and Katie Gall. Oh, I got it. Oh, look, I can actually read. They're in the house today, and we are talking about some of the stuff that I love to talk about, which is the mechanics of theater, acting, that type of stuff. Leslie, did I see on Instagram today you have some new digs? Is that... you spruced them up? What's going on there?
Yes, I moved out of my studio in Amesbury that I was in from 2019 to 2023. Last year, I moved to Durham, and I have a beautiful studio. I had my first... I was coaching on and off in that space one-on-one for much of the year, but in November and December, I had my first group class, and it's working beautifully.
Yeah?
So in about 2 weeks, I'm starting a Zoom playwriting class. I have a lot of playwrights who are in far regions, and playwriting is good to do online. But with acting, of course, we love being face-to-face, and I have an audition workshop for 4 weeks that's starting in late February. So if anyone is interested in the audition workshop or Zoom playwriting, you can go to lemonpunchtheaterlab.com and check out the classes page, and you can get more information. You can register, or you can shoot me an email if you want to know more specifically what's up.
Do you have a preference? So you help people with playwriting, you help people with auditions, you do coaching. Do you have a preference? I mean, as far as personally, which of those you actually just enjoy more?
I have found over the years that I really love doing a little bit of everything. I was once accused in a job interview of being a theater rat because I just do a little bit of everything. And I was like, well, we call it a generalist, but no, I really enjoy doing lots of everything. And case in point, we're going to be talking about As Small as Stars, which is opening a week from tomorrow, is it, Katie?
Oh my goodness,
at the Players Ring.
Great segue.
And I'm acting in that for the first time, acting in a real main stage show since 2018, because I've been directing a lot. So it's been lovely and humbling to step back onto the stage and to let myself be directed by the amazing Kelly Connors, and we're just having a beautiful time with this cast. It just feels really good.
She's pushing us that way, Katie. All right, so
Let's
before we go that far, I know you have some websites as well. Why don't you give us those?
I do. KatieGallVoiceStudio.com as well as KeepingItRealKatie.com. The KeepingItRealKatie.com is more for life coaching, which is another part of what I do. I would say also a generalist. This is a good term.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the show. So I love the Players Ring. I don't get out there enough. It's just kind of a haul, and I never even think of it. But I love the Players Ring. So let's talk about As Small as Stars. First of all, who pitched it? Do you know who pitched it?
Well,
don't.
I know that the playwright, I believe his name is Will Murdoch, right? Am I getting that correct?
You are correct.
He is a theater generalist as well. I think he runs his own family theater down in Georgia. And he had submitted a play. Apologies, Margarita and others. I cannot remember the title of it. But the Players Ring had pitched another one of his original plays in a previous season, either last year or the year before.
Yeah,
the one
I
about the
remember.
painter. And so he's kind of a known quantity in terms of a playwright producing new work, and this is going to be the debut production.
Yeah.
of it, I
What?
believe.
It's the first time it's on
What?
its feet, I believe.
And
yeah.
he should be coming out to see it. So we haven't gotten 100% confirmation, but
Did you say he's in Georgia?
yeah, from
Yes.
Georgia.
He's coming up from Georgia to see it?
Yeah,
That's
which
what we've been told.
that attests to the range of where people are submitting from
Wow.
for the season. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So I'm also on the reading committee for the upcoming season for Players Ring, and they just had dozens and dozens and dozens of submissions
Yeah, I'll bet,
from
I'll
all over
bet.
the place. It's very exciting.
So let's chat about this one before, because that's a great segue as well. What is it about? It's called The Smallest Stars, but what's that even reference to?
It's referencing a line specifically, but the story is what I've been telling people is that it's Peter Pan, but it's the parents' point of view. So Wendy, Michael, John, their parents, and how we react to what has happened to our children suddenly disappearing, and Nana, of course, reacting as well.
Yes. The George and Mary Darling are the main characters, and it is just so gorgeous to watch Katie and Josh Moore doing that. And I have the good fortune of playing George's mother, so it's my first grandma role.
Ouch.
Feeling all the feels.
Yeah.
She does fantastic.
Yes, thank you. But I also get to play Nana the dog, who in traditional Peter Pan style, the children's nurse was a Newfoundland dog instead of a human being. And
Yes.
so Nana has an appearance in the play as well, and I get to play both roles.
So, when you first had like your table read for this, what did you think? Were you captivated by it? Were you like, we need to do a little work here? As an actor, you sat down and you're, even though it may have been your first time, I don't even know if it was your first time seeing the script or whatever, but what went through your mind for your character as you were reading, and the play in general?
So I had the privilege of reading it before we actually even did a table read.
Okay.
And the language in this script is incredibly beautiful, at many points throughout. And the first time I read through it, there were numerous scenes where I just teared up instantly just reading it. Granted, I am a mother myself of 2 young boys, so I have a very close connection to what these parents would be feeling.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was just the characters obviously need work in the room, but I pretty instantly felt connected to her.
Yeah.
And could very much see what she was going through, and find my way through that. Yeah.
Leslie, you as well?
Yeah. To be quite frank, I was asked a year or so ago if I would pitch anything for this season. Did I have an interest in something? And I thought, no matter how the world turns, what will we all want to see and be in and create after the 2024 election? I have no idea. And so last summer, when I was asked to audition for this and handed the script, it has a lot of deliciously written melancholy and sadness and processing of grief, but a lot of joy, a lot of affirmation, a lot of fun,
There's
lot
some
of
very funny
laughter.
moments.
Yeah?
Yes. And I just thought, oh my goodness, this is the thing that I couldn't think of. This is a sweet, tender play that I could imagine proudly putting in front of an audience in January of 2025, regardless of what else is happening outside the theater. It feels cozy. The play feels cozy.
Yeah, that's a good way of
Interesting.
describing it.
Because I was going to ask you how well it adapts to that space.
Yeah.
For people who don't know, the Players Ring is small. It's intimate. It's, 90 people at most?
75.
75.
Yep.
Yeah. So certain plays have to be adapted for that space, or else they're just a nightmare.
But this one's perfectly sized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is it a one set? I mean, does it take place in one room?
Yes.
It does. Okay.
Yep.
And is it like a living room, a bedroom? Is it? Oh.
Do we want to tell?
Well. Oh.
Maybe you have to come and
I
see.
didn't realize it was a guarded secret. Oh.
I don't know that it's a guarded secret, but I think the world that the play takes place in is a little out of time, is a little magical, and so I don't want to ruin any of that.
You're killing
We
me.
want to hold back if you do.
Dang, you're killing me. Okay, all right. Let's get back to the actor side of it then. As you're rehearsing, one of the joys I love about acting is the rehearsal process. Not so much, I mean, I do enjoy the performance because once it's all taken shape and you have a gift now to present to the audience, that's something special. As an actor, I love the rehearsal process because I love to be creative. I love to, there's something about forming a character. So as each of you went through your rehearsal process, talk a little bit about, I found these maybe moments, because that's some of the best stuff when you're an actor. You find, for goodness sake.
We'll start with that.
I'm interrupted by my own music. Good. I was on a roll there for a second. You are listening to NH Unscripted. Yeah, baby. We are coming to you from deep within the bunkers of the WKXL studios in Concord. Yeah, we're deep. We're way down the ground. 1450 AM, 103.9 FM, 101.9 FM for the beautiful souls of Manchester. NHTalkRadio.com is our URL. I'll give you a little more info later about what's happening there. Oh, see, we're getting into the weeds. My favorite time. We'll be right back. We are working hard today. I know. Welcome back to NH Unscripted, where you are hooked on a feeling, baby. I am your BJ Thomas-like host, Ray Dudley. We are coming to you from the Green Acres like digs of the WKXL studios in Concord, New Hampshire. That's just in case you happen to be out in the World Wide Web and you're streaming it because, you want to. Anyway, we are talking shop here, which is really what I love to do. So the question, as I was rambling on in my old man way, was I love the mechanics of creating the character. I just love to be able to do it. I've always considered the rehearsal part to be the most fun because you get to discover, you get to play, you get to react, you get to create. So as each of you were trying to find your way through your character, were there things where you're like, oh my goodness, I didn't think of it that way, I didn't see that? Or was there something anyway that you just loved about the character and you could embellish it? Leslie, fire away.
Well, it's interesting. The character that I play, who has the most lines, is the mother. And the way she's written, she has a sort of almost Maggie Smith kind of affect. And it would be very easy to step into a stereotype with her. But the question I've been discussing and enjoying since the beginning with Kelly as well as with Katie and Josh is, what's my function in the scene? This particular scene, what mood or shift or contrast is most important to bring? Because the playwright has written many of these lines in ways where there's more than one interpretation, where you could be bringing more of the tenderness, the vulnerability, or the sadness, or you could be playing into the comedy a little bit more. So what's been exciting about the last, week or so, as we've really been getting the scripts out of our hands and we can actually make eye contact and move around and really embody the characters, is to play with more than one interpretation and then get feedback from the director as to which approach is going to tip the balance in the direction that she wants for the particular scene.
Yes. That's exactly what I mean. So I know this is all inside baseball. but I don't care. But I want the audience to understand what actually goes into a performance when they see it. We do this kind of work. I struggle over just words, never mind sentences or paragraphs. There are words where I'm like, there's a reason I need to say it a certain way, and I will struggle and say it 100 different ways till I find what I really think. And even then, when you get off script and you're interacting with someone else, you go, "Oh, okay, that didn't work as I thought it might," But or it changes something.
Or in the moment, you can discover all of a sudden, as you're really able to look into your scene partner's eye, you discover a new way of delivering the line. It's very exciting.
And it can be a matter of just, even if it's a word, you pause before it, or pause after it. It can create a whole different atmosphere, a whole different way to go. Katie.
Yeah.
You're up.
I absolutely agree with everything that Leslie said. I will say, I think potentially I'm one of the only one in the cast that comes from a slightly different background, just in that I, in recent years, have done a lot of musical theater. I've done a lot of opera. I've done a lot of cabarets, a lot of singing.
You didn't mention any of that in the introduction.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
So I have predominantly been in vocal roles rather than just plain speech. And so I have not had as much ability, time within a rehearsal process to really dig into the vulnerability of a character. And for my character in particular, for all the characters, but mine especially, that is 100% necessary. I mean, you can't be playing a mom of missing children and not have that aspect.
You would hope, right?
I would hope, right? Exactly. And so that's been a really lovely discovery for me personally, to recognize that I actually have that in me as an actor. Because when you're singing, you have to keep everything just like a touch more in control. Mm-hmm. Because otherwise your voice won't work. Mm-hmm. Emotion can't break through in the same way.
Good point.
Yeah,
Good point.
And so it's been a really lovely process. And everyone's been wonderfully supportive.
Yeah. I like the word process. That's a really, really good word for what we try to accomplish. Because it is. I have no sympathy for people who wait until like Tech Week to discover their character or whatever. Mm-hmm. They make me insane. They just drive me literally insane, because I know they haven't done any work. I know they've been lazy, and now they're going to just throw this character on all of us in the play. And
do you ever hear that story that used to get pulled out? Katie, you may be too young to have suffered with this story, but that Lee J. Cobb, when he created Willie Loman in Death of a Salesman, he was bringing no actual acting to rehearsals until like the night before opening. He was playing it flat, and everyone was freaking out. And then lo and behold, he turned out this incredibly nuanced, crafted, perfect, whole character. And people used to throw that around when I was, coming up in the 80s and early 90s, as if this was something to aspire to, as an excuse for their laziness. And I would say, what does it matter if he had this incredible crafted character if everyone around him was in emotional tatters, because there was no trust. They had no idea what to do.
I reject his premise.
Yes.
I think that's selfish. Because you have a team.
Yes.
And you think, as one of his co-actors or whatever, that you have something, unfortunately in this case, what you thought was going to be the final product to people, and now you have to all of a sudden pivot?
Yeah.
There's things that are going to, oh, come on.
Yeah.
Had we tried to do that for this show,
would not have been able to function.
Absolutely not. Absolutely.
Yeah?
I actually, my motto that I have on my website and on a couple T-shirts lying around is more theater, less drama. And when I came up with that, I was specifically thinking about Tech Week. Tech Week is always going to be difficult. That's when you finally get to see the lights and this and that. And frequently the actors have to suspend their exploration for a day or more while just all the technical pieces come into place. So Tech Week is always going to be difficult. Why layer more stuff onto it by procrastinating about doing your homework?
Oh, it's just, there's no need for it. There's absolutely no call for it. It makes me insane. I bleed from the eyes over it.
You won't have to do that when you come see As Small as Stars.
It's circled on my calendar. I promise you, I will be out there. The problem I have with going out to the Players Ring is not that I don't love Portsmouth and I don't love the Players Ring. It's just, I have to go by myself. My wife is not a theater person.
Oh.
And so she just, too many bad experiences with people who think they're good and they're not. And she just, it grinds on her. It just, that ego thing just really bothers her.
My brother doesn't like to come to the theater because he worries for the actors. He's afraid they'll screw up and it makes him tense.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
What?
Yeah. So I get it. So anyone,
I had never heard that before. That's
anyone out
fascinating.
there in the Players Ring community who would like to squire Ray Dudley to see as small as stars, please get in
Are
touch.
you setting
Uber
him
drivers. I'll take an Uber driver. But I will be out there. I'll make the drive. And I end up I'm crying in my own tea here about going out there by myself. But I love Portsmouth, and I love the Players Ring. I really do. I love the intimacy of it. I had Brian Halpern in here yesterday, and they're performing their shows up at the Colonial in Laconia. It's a 700-person theater. You know, that's a totally different setting than what you're about to engage
Very
in.
different experience.
Very
Yes.
different experience.
Yes.
One of the great things, and maybe you have these moments, one of the great things about the Players Ring is you can be as soft-spoken as you want. It's intimate, and the audience just gets this feeling like, "Ooh, maybe I shouldn't be like overhearing this conversation, even though it's a play, but you know, it's that intimate up there.
Yeah. We're in your laps.
Yes.
Almost literally, right?
Yeah.
Stepping over people's feet in the front
Yes.
row and
Yep.
everything.
Yes.
Yep.
Well, the other thing that's interesting about the Players Ring is that the seating is on 3 sides, but it is temporary seating. It can be moved. The configurations can be changed.
Did you have to do that
And
for this?
so for this
Yes.
one, the design was created to have just the audience on 2 sides. And the director is really clear that she wants to make sure that we're performing to both sides equally, that you're not having one of these things where there's a bad seat in the house where you're staring at people's backs the whole time.
Yeah.
So we do a lot of work on that. So we won't actually be in your laps, but we'll be close, especially because when you take away one bank of seats, you have to add more seats up front, an additional front row.
Oh, I
Yeah.
see.
So we're going to be right there. We'll
Yeah.
be right there.
So, because it's we'll call it a new work, there's no template for you. It's not like doing Annie that's been done a gajillion times. You could go out to YouTube and download videos and say, oh, I kind of like the way they do this. You are literally creating these characters on your own. Do you find that to be a challenge, or do you are you kidding? I love my job, but my gosh, this is crazy. You are listening to NH Unscripted, listening to this old man rattle on. We are coming to you from the dating game like digs of the WKXL studios. Yeah, baby, we are. NHTalkRadio.com is our URL. Leslie Pasternack and Katie Gall are in the house, and we're talking mechanics, my favorite. We'll be right back. Welcome back to NH Unscripted, where we are wishing it was a hot August night. I am your Neil Diamond-like host, Ray Dudley. We are coming to you from the Car 54 like digs of the WKXL studios in Concord. Always happy to be out of bed. Always happy to be out doing anything, actually. NHTalkRadio.com is our URL where you can find archives of this tremendous show, plus all of the other great programming that takes place here at the studio, NHTalkRadio.com. This show happens to come to you every Wednesday and Friday mornings, 9 a.m. Yeah, baby, but you probably knew that because you get your radios all tuned in. Anyway, we're talking mechanics. I wanted to talk a little bit about... I started to ask it so that you have a clean slate. You can create whatever you want. A couple of questions. One, have you had any feedback from the author at all? Does he see anything, hear anything about what you're doing? And then, yes.
Oh, I was going to say, Kelly, our director, has spoken with him to ask certain questions.
Yeah.
But we have not. No, he hasn't seen anything. We haven't really heard much from him beyond any of those answers, which are frequently just clarifying questions. Like,
Yeah.
it's not, it hasn't had really anything to do with character or anything like that. So,
In terms of new play development, the process of whether or not the playwright is involved is completely different play to play, depending on who they are, where they're located, how the play came forward. In this case, he submitted it through the Players Ring submission process, and he submitted it, from Georgia, and he seems to be content to leave it in Kelly's hands. But there's always, endless different possibilities for directors and playwrights working together. Sometimes that works beautifully. Sometimes you'll hear directors say, "We need to get the playwright out of the room."
Yeah, that's my point.
Or they'll
That was
they'll want to rewrite in ways that at a certain point it's not useful because you need a script.
Yeah, right. That was what I was trying to get at, was if you were getting input from him about, what... Because I can, and I said this the other day to someone, that I cannot imagine being an author or playwright and handing something off that I struggled with and I put my blood, sweat, and tears into, and thoughts and heart, and then have them... I'm gambling that they're going to do because it's a whole different thing. I mean, what a writer sees and hopes is going to be on stage isn't necessarily, at least the first time it comes out, what he thought or she thought was going to be on stage. So it's a big gamble there.
I have had the experience of a one-act play get into competition and win, and when I went to see it, it was not what we had hoped, and my writers group sort of circled around me and offered condolences.
Wait, was it your play?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
It was a play I had written, yes.
And it won.
Yes. And then it was not resourced properly and not rehearsed long enough.
Oh, my God.
And it just lay like a bad toupee on the stage.
Dang, that's a
What a good way to
picture.
put that.
But
There's
these
a
are the
picture.
kinds of experiences that you're glad you have in the rearview mirror because, when you get nervous about what you're doing, you're like, well, it can't be quite as bad as that other time.
that is totally fair.
So let's talk about the creative team here. You've got the actors and you've got Kelly. How are you all working together? I don't know anything about the other two. You two are very seasoned. And so what is taking place there? Has Kelly left it in your hands and then she just kind of tweaks it periodically? Or this gets to, in your email that you had sent to me, there was this question about working with directors, and I just kind of want to touch on it a little bit here. But is Kelly, there are micro directors who will they agonize over every step you take, every hand gesture you make, and then there's others who are like, look, just put it on its feet. I'll give you some feedback about how it looks. What's happening here?
This was a really awesome and unique process for me. She started out rehearsals without scripts in hands, kind of just getting us used to moving around each other. I have known Josh, the person who's playing my husband, for many years, but we have not connected in recent years, and so getting comfortable with him again has been really amazing, and she's been really good at holding space for that. And then once we had scripts in hands, she has a clear idea of what things should look like, but she's not the kind of person who's going to railroad you into only one choice. She'll make sure that sightlines work and things like that, but she's very much about intention and making sure that as an actor, and more importantly, I would say as a human, you know why you are doing what you are doing.
Yeah.
She asks a lot of questions.
Yes.
She'll say,
yes.
so, how did that feel for you? Was there something that was off? What might help you there?
Mm-hmm.
What, or she'll say, I have a question about whether or not this should be more humorous, or do you feel more connected, or is that piece of furniture in your way? Do we need to adjust this? So she leads with a lot of questions where you can tell there's the intention behind. She's trying to solve an issue, but she's, by asking a question, instead of just saying, I want you to say it like this, I want you to do it like that. Sorry, I'm banging on things because I'm so excited.
That was not an earthquake.
Waving my hands in the air. She's not micromanaging line
No.
readings or anything. So she leaves space for us to bring our own interpretation.
Yeah, it's been very collaborative.
Yeah, that's a great word too.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Everyone, I would say, feels very able to put in their 2 cents, while at the same time managing to rein us all in with all of our ideas, because we all are creative people.
Yeah. Well, that's what makes ultimately the end result, if it is collaborative enough and there's not crashing of egos, it becomes this beautiful, really gift.
Yeah.
So when people leave the theater, let's go to the end of the play. People leave the theater. What do you hope they've captured at the end of the night?
Hope.
Yeah? Hope.
They should walk away feeling hopeful is my ideal,
Yeah.
I would say. Probably a couple of tears in their eyes, most likely.
Yeah, I've been coming home from rehearsals now that it's being stitched together and I've had a chance to really observe your scenes that I'm not in. I've been coming home and saying to my husband, this feels so much like it's about navigating marriage under stress and watching this couple rediscover each other through this, which I find really gorgeous.
Yeah, it's interesting. The backdrop is that our children have disappeared, but it really is about George and Mary.
So it's the
together.
catalyst.
That's the catalyst. That's the catalyst, exactly. Yeah.
Interesting. Is there resolution? Or when the play is over, you don't have to give like a definitive answer here, but or is the audience left wondering at the end, like what could have happened or what should have happened? Or, I mean...
I don't know how to answer that.
Come on! I'm reaching here.
What I would say is that it leaves delicious ambiguity so that people can say, I think this happened, I think that happened, but it does provide emotional resolution.
Yes.
So that you're not walking out, I don't think, feeling like, frustrated or it's over, I don't understand.
Yes,
know?
I would agree with that. Yeah. I've definitely walked out of plays, not like in the middle, obviously, but at the end.
I've done that, I have to say.
But where you're just kind of like, unfulfilled, I don't think that this is one of those.
Well, another issue here, let's just acknowledge, it's a riff on Peter Pan, right? Which means it's a riff on magical themes about magic.
Good point.
And what's interesting is he's foregrounded a marriage, so he has foregrounded a realism. There's a kind of realism in it. So I think if there are elements that are unsettled or that the audience can have a delicious dessert while they talk about what they think happened, it's sort of teasing out, was the magic really magic? What was really happening? There's some interesting questions like that. But I think there is a full and complete arc for the lives of these characters.
Yes.
Okay, I want to come back to that. But before, I know we're going to run out of time. So I want to give you the opportunity to once again, both of you give your own personal websites for what you're counseling. I keep using that word, coaching and playwright and all that stuff. Go ahead, and Leslie.
Sure. I'm Leslie Pasternack, and it's lemonpunchtheaterlab.com.
I'm Katie Gall, and it's KatieGallVoiceStudios.com and KeepingItRealKatie.com.
And you're going to make sure to go to playersring.org for all of the tickets for everything in the season. And As Small as Stars is the play we're talking about. It opens January 31st. It runs through February 16th. There are 14 performances.
I believe
Wow.
Lots of different options. Yeah, we're doing 2 shows on Saturdays. So there's 2 matinee opportunities. So lots of chances each week to come and see the show for 3 weekends.
What's the runtime?
It's running around 90 minutes with no intermission, so it's nice and tight.
Yeah.
Wow. Getting back to the characters themselves, and you said that there's emotional. Are we kidding?
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, he's got this is premature. Is that not what the? Oh my
next time.
God. All right.
To be continued next time.
Have you back? I'm just gonna have to do it. You have been listening to NH Unscripted. My goodness, I am your host with the bunny slippers on, Ray Dudley, coming to you from the not so overly ostentatious digs of the WKXL studios in Concord, 1450 AM, 103.9 FM in Concord, 101.9 FM for the beautiful souls in Manchester. NHTalkRadio.com is our URL. Leslie, Katie, thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
I will be out there either on the opening night or the next one, so I appreciate it. We'll be back next time. Bye.